All right, and welcome to Freedom Gulch's second podcast. Tonight we're going to be talking about various issues, such as the Oregon militia issue, Rand Paul, the State of the Union speech, gun control via executive order, and whatever else we get into tangents about. I'd like to go ahead and introduce who's here. I guess I'll go ahead with myself. My name's Will Hammer. I'm the founder and CFO of, which is Chief Freedom Officer, title I gave myself for Freedom Gulch. Ran for Congress 2 years ago against Bob Goodlatte, and this past year for State House against Dickie Bell. And we have Michael Pickens.
Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm a libertarian activist in Washington State, and I write stuff about the Libertarian Party and other issues. Fantastic.
Oh, come on, don't be so modest.
Former chairman, Libertarian Party of Washington. I've written a book called Libertarian Leadership, and got another one coming out called Libertarian Lion, and I'm currently volunteering for Steve Kerbell's presidential campaign.
Great. And Mark?
I'm Mark Anderson. I'm chair of the Frederick County Libertarians. I was 2015 candidate for the House of Delegates in Virginia.
And
love the hat, Mark.
Thanks.
Yeah.
LPV or LP.org or something.
Joshua?
Yes, I'm Joshua Huffman, longtime political activist, former staffer for Dr. Ron Paul. Ran for office myself back in 2014 for Harrisonburg City Council, and here we are. Yeah.
And Andy.
Andy Bacher. I'm the current chairman of the Libertarian Party of Northern Virginia. Ran last year for the House of Delegates in the 46th District here in Alexandria. Also a law student at the George Mason University School of Law.
All right, great. And so let's go ahead and dive in. What do y'all think about this militia up in Oregon? What do you think is not being covered by the media properly, and what do you think about it?
Well, it's crazy, man, and I think the place to start is with the mandatory minimums that they received. These two guys, the Hammonds, a father and a son. The father is in his 70s. The son is 40s or 50s. You guys might know better than me. Burning their own land, setting a fire on their own land in basically a well-recognized practice, and the fire extends onto the federal land, and they end up with 5 years in prison for a terrorism charge. That sounds nuts to me. Somebody help me understand that.
Yeah, that's the real problem, is using anti-terrorism laws on some people burning grass and juniper bushes. The mandatory, the people, they serve their sentence. The original judge in the case said, that would be cruel and unusual to sentence them to 5 years in prison. Sentence them to a year. They served, I think, 3 months and 1 year. And then, the U.S. attorney said, nope, we're going to go for the mandatory minimum under U.S. anti-terrorism laws, and sent them back to prison for 4 more years. That's crazy.
Any thoughts, Michael? You live just north of there.
Yeah, I'm not too far from there. I think it is crazy. It's definitely government overreach. Look at the EPA, right? They poisoned the river in Colorado. No one gets in trouble whatsoever. The EPA, the Forest Service burns land, burns farmland. There's so many things that they do against the citizens, and no one's ever held accountable to this. So it's definitely government overreach. Now, as far as taking over the federal building, did they serve their purpose as far as getting eyes on the situation? The media, people paying attention, definitely did that. I don't know how effective it is at anything else right now, because I know they need snacks, and they didn't prepare very well, but that's okay. They made their point and they got it out there, so I guess they served their purpose.
Yeah, going
Apparently
on the
they're
snacks.
being sent.
Yeah, going on the snacks. I frequent Reddit, and a lot of people decided to start sending them particular snacks of particular shapes, and
yeah, I heard
also
they were getting heard they were getting sent hate mail and dildos.
Yeah.
So, like, is there something about this story that I don't know that these people know that are sending these things? Who knows?
Any thoughts, Joshua?
Not really. I mean, it's just interesting to note, like, of course, with all the Facebook chatter, it seems fairly consistent that, of course, with my liberal friends, they say, oh, well, these guys are virtual terrorists, they're treated like terrorists, and then, of course, my conservative friends saying, no, it's sort of like the Bundy case, when that was a big issue, so.
Yeah, it's the same people, what Ammon Bundy, the son of Clyde Bundy, is up there. Yeah. And, I don't know all the different specifics of it, but it definitely, the BLM and other federal agencies have been overreaching for a very long time, and they're using anti-terrorism, laws to do mandatory minimums for a practice that's been going on for a very long time. I don't know all the specifics, but this doesn't seem to add up. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, one thought, for all they're terrorists and all that, what people say is, one thing to keep in mind is, as far as I can tell, there's been no property damage, really. Nobody's been hurt. Nothing's been stolen. They occupied a empty building, from what I can tell. So it's not as if they stormed the Capitol building with automatic weapons. They made their point, and at this point you have to say they're peacefully protesting. Whether they are doing it the right way or not, it doesn't matter. But like Michael was saying, they've gotten their point across without question, and they're not dissimilar to Black Lives Matter in that they're making a statement more or less peacefully.
Well, say peacefully. I've seen plenty of videos where private property has been damaged, and they storm shops and stores and so forth. And it looks like we got Carl Lozer joining us.
Hey, Carl.
Trying not to get fired from the shop. What's up, Carl?
What's going on, guys?
Not much. We're just talking about the Oregon situation with the militia. You have any thoughts on that?
Give me a second. I'm gonna listen for a minute and then I'll comment.
Okay. Well, we're comparing it against like Black Lives and whatnot. Like I said, Black Lives. I've seen a lot of video of them intimidating people, using aggression, damaging private property, and so forth. And so these guys seem like they're being very peaceful. They have firearms with them, but they are doing it peacefully. They're using their Second Amendment rights to ensure that their First Amendment rights are protected. And so it's I think they're kind of showing how you do this. You ensure that you do not get pepper sprayed and taken down like you see in other movements, whether it's Occupy, Black Lives Matter, and such, by actually using all your rights and showing that you're not going to be intimidated and have your rights violated by having your Second Amendment rights and protecting yourself.
And I think that's a really good point to be made, Will. And leaving aside, I think, a little bit of a conflation of Black Lives Matter with some of the spontaneous outbursts that happen in these communities that are not tied to the protest movement, at least in a direct way. There's clearly a difference in the way that armed protesters are treated. These guys are peaceful, but they are not getting beat up yet. What's a little bit worrying is that the BLM stood down at the Bundy Ranch, so you kind of wonder, do they feel like they can even stand down again? Do they have to do something this time? What are we looking at if this goes on weeks, months, or like Ammon Bundy said, he wants to be there for years? What happens? How does this end?
Well, hopefully they get more snacks.
And fewer dildos.
Yeah, definitely. That's something. This is a case point for the effectiveness of the Second Amendment. A lot of the left, people on the left like to say, well, the government has nukes and they have drones and all this. That's true. If you go hand-to-hand combat or full-scale war against the U.S. government, you're probably going to lose. But you're forcing their hand to make that decision to do that. And this is a perfect example of why the Second Amendment is important, whether you agree with what the Bundys and their supporters are doing or not.
Right, and hopefully this doesn't turn into like a Ruby Ridge or any of those early 90s standoffs, which didn't turn out too well. Hopefully it's peaceful. Hopefully they make a point about Second Amendment rights and then also land rights that the BLM and other agencies are definitely infringing on and downright trampling. And a lot of people have even brought up about them being welfare welfare queens essentially, but from what I've understood is that they're just taking advantage of different tax credits, trying to make sure that they do not are taxed to the highest degree that they can be, and they're protesting the government, but then they take this, but it's more of like where they are trying to reduce their taxation burden. And anybody that owns a business, runs a business, or even just looks at their paycheck, understands how much of a damper taxes can be on your business or just in your income. When you look at your pay stub.
Bruce.
Oh, we got Bruce Majors.
While I'm doing something really boring, I have to get off the podcast in a minute.
You there, Bruce?
Yeah. I'm here on an Android phone.
Oh. Okay. Welcome,
right.
Bruce.
We're talking about the
Bruce, we're talking Oregon.
talking about Oregon. If you want to comment on it.
If who wants to comment on what?
The Oregon situation with the militia and such.
Oh, I'm kind of for them. I know that's surprising given how left-wing I am generally. Why? What's everybody else said?
Pretty much along those lines. We've just been talking about the Second Amendment rights and how they're using that to, I guess, essentially protect their First Amendment rights. And, there's a different overreach with the federal agencies such as BLM and such.
Groups say, where they say, things like, oh, if they were Muslims or they were black, the whole army would have already been there and shot them all. Which I think is funny given that, although that's kind of true of the Branch Davidians, I guess. It's not true of those people in Texas at the biker bar. Anyway, I actually, from what I did, there's this guy named David French who writes for National Review. He's really good. I think it's necessarily a libertarian who's really good. And apparently these people, I don't know if that's where I heard this or not, but apparently the thing they were actually convicted for earlier was using a domestic terrorism statute that's part of the Patriot Act or related to that, and the jury wasn't even informed that that's the statute that they were being tried under. Like, apparently, they were actually convicted and tried. I mean, maybe they could be convicted and tried just for burning down, grazing on federal land, but they were actually tried under, like, domestic terrorism, which is clearly not what they were doing. They were just burning some drugs, I think, and the jury wasn't even informed. I mean, there's something kooky and slightly fascist about their previous trial, which is the thing that they're protesting.
Yeah, we definitely brought up about the mandatory minimums with the domestic terrorism charges and how that's being, used for, them burning. Which definitely, burning some grass and juniper or whatever, and definitely, government overreaching with how they define terrorism and use those terrorist laws that they set up the last decade and a half. Does anybody else have any thoughts? Other thoughts on Oregon?
Do you think the LP should actually issue any kind of statement about it? The LP National Office?
It's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's really an issue for them to address or not, but I don't know that it's not an issue for them to address either. And I actually think, strangely enough, this year, we look at all kinds of people. I mean, like, I've written a little bit of stuff kind of surely for Trump that, like 2 years is a wrecking ball and the right people. But, like, I'm not sure that this year, saying nice things about the Oregon people wouldn't get you positive attention from voters who otherwise might not pay any attention. Like, there might be people who have all kinds of sympathies to them who aren't, weirdo white supremacists. More like that's all of my thought about that.
All right, well, let's go ahead. Let's move to the State of the Union tonight. Obama's last State of the Union. Andy brought up to me that he's going to have an empty chair there, I guess, representing the gun violence victims. What's y'all's thoughts on tonight's State of the Union?
Yeah, the empty chair is going to be in Michelle's box, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I haven't watched his previous State of the Unions, except for maybe one, and I don't plan to watch this one either. I mean, I know what he stands for. What's the point of sitting there for hours listening to him?
This one allegedly went special. Supposedly he's going to do something that's not a traditional State of the Union. Which makes me wonder, if he's going to dance or sing or...
Well, if he's going to have an empty chair for the victims of gun violence, he needs to have an empty chair for, every person that the ATF's Fast and Furious has caused to be killed, or, all the wars that he's been involved in, that he's gotten us involved in. If there was an empty chair for every, not every person, but for every event in which a person was killed by guns that come from the government, every war, the Fast and Furious and things like that, there'd be no, the room would be full of empty chairs.
Well, that's a great point there, Mark. I mean, he's been, and not that he's the first president. I don't want to say that, Obama, but they get into these wars and there's so much collateral damage. People die, innocent civilians. I think that they've, that's always estimates in like Iraq and whatnot, but like million civilians, and that's dead. That doesn't include that are harmed or displaced. And then you also brought up about Fast and Furious. Those guns went down to Mexico in the last decade. Mexico's been doing, the ramping up their drug war, and I think I read somewhere where 100,000 people in Mexico have died, being a victim, with the drug war being ramped up there. And, you just think about all of the violence and all the deaths that actually come from government-sanctioned events, such as wars and other, really horrible programs like Fast and Furious. It's really kind of disgusting, and yeah, there's people that's going to die from gun violence. But most of those statistics that they use, a lot of them are, inner city, gang-related, and also a lot come from the drug war, which should be ended anyway. So there's a lot of inflation of statistics through other government policies, and there's so many people that are saved, that with self-defense and protecting their property and their businesses with firearms. Even if you confiscate and outlaw all guns, you're never going to get rid of guns. I mean, we have 3D printers. You can 3D print guns now. You can make a gun out of a pipe end cap and a nail in a shotgun shell. I mean, people can improvise, or even if you do completely somehow get rid of all the guns, then you have mass stabbings like in China where 50 people die or get greatly injured. So.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it a little bit. Really, the gun homicide statistics in the United States that they use, a really huge percentage of it is suicide by gun, which, assumes that if you got rid of the guns, people won't commit suicide anymore, and that's like in Sweden, where I think lots of people commit suicide, actually. I think they have a fairly high rate. I mean, in other places, people aren't, if they want to commit suicide, they won't just do it another way, which seems even easier than saying, I mean, it is true you can take a knife and a movie theater and kill a bunch of people, but it's really, really easy if you want to commit suicide to do it some other way. And a gun is just so quick and efficient, but like if you want to commit suicide, you can jump off things and poison yourself or whatever. So even using the suicide statistics in your gun statistics as part of your argument about how many are annually fraudulent from the get-go, because people who want to commit suicide they don't need a gun to do it. It's just a very efficient way of doing it, but they have plenty of other ways to do it.
Well, yeah, there's so many ways that one can commit suicide. I mean, prescription drugs and other means. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
How about an empty chair for Tamir Rice and Eric Garner and Dylan Taylor and Kelly Thomas and Luis Rodriguez and all the victims of police violence and police killings? Sandra Bland.
Yes. Actually, he almost might actually do that if he could figure out how to frame it the way he wants to frame it, where it's not about like centralized police authority. It's thinking about centralizing it even more to the Justice Department or about controlling guns or something. I doubt he would do it, but he almost might, because he would try to spin it his way.
Yeah.
Well, that's what definitely the empty chair is. He's trying to make this gun issue into something emotional. He's trying to tug at people's emotional strings. With the speech on the executive actions he's going to take, you start tearing up, do the crocodile tears and everything like that. And now he's going to be doing the empty chair. He seems like he's really just trying to do an emotional, trying to make an emotional thing and try to show the victims and everything like that, which, of course, there's victims of gun violence, and it's a shame. But if you compare that towards the victims from government-sanctioned events, then it dwarfs it. And not that makes them any less of a victim, but it shows the hypocrisy. They want to take away our guns, but then they are protected by armed men. All these political class people and such can be protected by men with guns, but we can't protect ourselves with a gun, which is the great equalizer. You don't have to be physically menacing or physically dominant to have a gun and be able to defend yourself. It's a great tool for women and other people, and it just equals out the playing field.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I know in Virginia they're trying to take away the guns from McAuliffe's bodyguards after, I think especially after the Mark Herring revocation of out-of-state concealed carry permits. I don't know if that's got a chance. But
can I ask you all two questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
How late do you all go, and who else on here besides Andy?
We usually go about an hour. We're live right now, so this is all going to be on there. And there's Andy, we have Carl Lozer, we have Joshua Huffman, we have Mark Anderson, and Michael Pickens, and myself, Will Hammer.
Oh, even Michael Pickens, all the way from another country. Okay.
How's it going, Bruce? Long time no talk.
Hey, I saw you on Facebook today on this page, and I started to post something snarky, but I was busy and I neglected to.
Something about collecting signatures in D.C.?
Michael Pickens got us ballot access to run in 214 or 212. I forgot what year. 212. He ran our ballot drive.
Nice.
That's what I was saying. Michael Pickens is the man.
So gun violence, that's what we're talking about, right?
Yep.
So this is the thing, man. It's not that they don't like guns, because they're going to need people with guns to take away guns from the citizens, right? And one thing that really bugs me from the Republican side, from the conservative side, and even from some libertarian campaigns right now, is that they talk about the Second Amendment. We got to protect the Second Amendment, right? How about saying, instead of protect the Second Amendment, how about our natural right to be able to defend ourselves?
Absolutely.
And that's what we need to focus on. We need to stop referring to the Constitution and the different amendments, because we go over people's heads. Not only that, but the current education system teaches children, teaches kids, young adults, that the Constitution is an outdated document, right? So let's not focus on that anymore. It really is just a piece of paper. I have the right to defend myself no matter what a piece of paper says, right?
Right, natural rights trump constitutional rights. Your very nature is yourself, and so you should be able to protect yourself, your person, and your property.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what a piece of paper over 200 years said. That's the thing. I mean, I think the Constitution was a good steer in the direction, considering what I guess government was, but when it comes down to it, natural rights trump any constitutional rights. And when you think about it, the Constitution was written by a very small political class over 200 years. And, I like to read a little bit of Lysander Spooner, so you know my feelings on that.
Well, I think, on the campaign trail last year, and then anytime I talk to people, especially non-libertarians, I make a point to say constitutionally protected rights, because you're right, it isn't something, the Constitution doesn't grant us the right, it protects that right, and it's a limitation on government, like the Fourth Amendment is a limitation on what the government can do in their search, investigation of you. So yeah, I agree completely. I do like the Constitution. I think it's a wonderful document. I believe it may be the finest political document ever crafted, but it's important to say that it protects our right. It doesn't grant our rights.
Well,
I'll agree.
Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. It is a great document. There's no doubt about that. However, some of the arguments that I've heard by hanging out with Democrats is that, the founders made it. The founders had slaves, so obviously, the Constitution's an outdated document. Now, I know that argument is not valid whatsoever. However, they use it, and they can easily go back and say, well, look at the founders. They had slaves.
Sure.
Look, do you really want to go back to that time when women couldn't vote? No, I don't think so. That's
an important point to make, because women can vote now. We have an amendment process. The Constitution is not exactly the same as it used to be.
I got it. They just attacked the founders and the whole generation back then.
Well, so with the Constitution, you have constitutional conservatives, you have people that believe in the Constitution, but if it's such a great document, and look where it's gotten us, it hasn't stopped, it hasn't limited government, it hasn't protected our rights. Every amendment.
We have failed to do that. The Constitution still says what it says. Our generations, the last 100 years of Americans have failed to make sure that they obey the Constitution.
Yeah, but that's 100 years of millions of people. I mean, that's not me.
No, it's not you.
Well, but yeah, like guns don't kill people. People kill people. Constitutions don't govern. People govern.
Right.
Yeah, and technically we are doing something. We're taking responsibility, each and every one of us right now. And there's so many more people around the country that are doing that as well. We've realized that, hey, it is the past generations that have screwed everything up, that allowed this government overreach. Now, if we don't stand up and do something now, who's going to stand up, right? So we're doing it. We're trying to get other people to do it. That's why Will started Freedom Gulch, I'm sure, to bring some eyes on these issues, to bring eyes on the Libertarian Party and what our mission is, which it seems to be working. So congratulations, but we just got to keep doing it.
Definitely, we need to stand up for our rights, but I like how you framed it. We need to talk about our natural rights, not necessarily our constitutional rights or rights protected by the Constitution, because like I said, the Constitution doesn't have a great track record of preventing our rights from being trampled on. And you can just look at the last 150 years, definitely habeas corpus and other things being, with the Civil War, or the war between the states, whatever you want to call it, and it hasn't prevented us from becoming this overly bloated federal government, everything from top down, and trampling on everybody's rights. So it hasn't been very effective at what it was meant to do and protect its citizens. Anybody else have any thoughts? All right. Well, let's move on. Anything else about Obama's State of the Union? Anything about the gun control with executive orders? Anybody?
Yeah, that's the important context of the whole empty chair thing. Those are big steps that he took, that he admits we're not going to prevent any of the shootings that have occurred. So that's a little bit strange to me that he would put that right out there out front. But it seems to be a push to force the gun control issue into the 2016 campaign. I think he's already doing it, and they're going after Bernie Sanders for it. There's a lot of things that you should go after Bernie Sanders for. I don't think gun rights are one of them.
You're not feeling the burn, man?
It's
might want
funny.
To get that checked and go to the doctor.
Feel the Johnson. I was at Thanksgiving. Go ahead, Bruce.
Oh, no, I'm making a relevant joke. I said I found a salve that helped when I felt the burn.
I was just going to say, I was so surprised over the holidays. My family's, liberal Democrats, and they were going after my brother a lot more for being a Bernie supporter than me for being a libertarian, so I was happy about that.
That's what I've been raised in mostly a Democratic family, and mostly the women in the family, and they're all about Hillary Clinton just because she's a woman, and that just drives me crazy. You need to pick somebody because of principles. I don't care if they are white, black, Asian. I don't care if they're Buddhist, Jewish, Christian, or atheist. It's about the principles, and I hate how people get so caught up on we need a woman president. And I mean, she even brings that up within debates and other things that it's time for a woman president. I would love to see a woman president, sure, but it doesn't really matter if it's Hillary Clinton. It's still Hillary Clinton, and that's just a continuation of the same failed policies we've seen over the last decade and a half, 2 decades.
And I would argue the same thing to a certain degree is happening with Donald Trump supporters. That's definitely identity politics. I don't know. People want to compare the Hillary thing to Obama, I think, with some reason to do so. And I think there's value in having elected, an African American president. And I think there are kids who are growing up and they see more chances for themselves. But it also has unleashed this huge torrent of racism that was kind of bubbling under the surface. So there may be some long-term benefits to having a female president. I don't think that's a reason to support her candidacy. Don't paint me into that corner. But it could unleash a lot of ugliness at the same time.
Yeah, definitely could. I mean, I guess you could get some, I guess, misogynists come up, but definitely going back to the identity with Donald Trump, which a lot of I don't understand the supporters of Donald Trump. There's some of they don't even really know what he stands for. They just like him because he's going against the grain, I guess, and he's and I think there is a partial racist side to that. But I think there's also a lot of people that just see him as an outsider. But it's just I couldn't imagine a Donald Trump presidency. Josh, any thoughts
on Donald Trump?
Yeah, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton.
Well, I mean, the issue with Trump, and I've told people, is that, of course, there are people who are upset that they are constantly lied to by the Republican establishment, and I think that's understandable, and I think, I can certainly empathize with that. But of course, they've sort of attached themselves to this demigod, who will say what he's thinking, and regardless of what he's thinking is actually good or bad, and. Of course, I'm still shocked that Donald Trump is doing as well as he is in the polls. I mean, is he going to get first or second in Iowa? Is he going to get first or second in New Hampshire? I don't know. But, it's interesting. I mean, it certainly is. And, of course, you read these articles like, well, if Donald Trump gets the nomination, what's that going to do to the Republican Party? And that's a question to have. I mean, worth looking into, I'd say.
Yeah, I think if Donald. Yeah, I think if Donald Trump got the nomination, that would be it for the Republican Party. They're already going downhill. People do not want to be associated with the Republican Party more and more. Even with Donald Trump, any normal person or rational person, crazy. So I think it would be a good thing for us.
He's shown that he can say anything. Anything could come out of his mouth, and he still doesn't dip down the polls. It's just,
what's up?
We got to think the people that they're actually calling for these polls. It's a limited number of people, around 1,000 people. These are the hardcore, voters. I've never got one of those calls before. Who's getting those calls? I'm sure they stack the deck somewhat.
I don't know the procedure for that, but let's see. Any other? How about Rand Paul? What is he in the latest debate, or is he not in the last debate? What's going on with him?
No.
If he would actually win, would that be bad for the Libertarian Party? What's y'all's thoughts?
Well, we don't have to worry about it.
If you actually, yeah, I'll agree with Andy. Yeah, he's not going to win. There's no way. Look, they've already edged him out of this last debate. He's not going to be on the main stage. And he doesn't want to play in the kiddie pool, so what's going to happen? He's just not going to be included at all.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say theoretically that he does well, and he somehow pulls out the nomination. What do you think that is that good or bad for the Libertarian Party?
I think it would be a good thing. Ron Paul's candidacy in 2007, 2008 was a good thing for the Libertarian Party. That's how I learned about libertarianism. Almost all of our leadership here in Washington learned about libertarianism through Ron Paul. And I think he's actually bringing people over into the Libertarian Party here in Washington. I know for sure that there's some Rand Paul people that are coming over right now because they're seeing us growing and having success. So who knows?
Well, do you think that Rand Paul is a watered-down version of libertarianism? Like he's not as libertarian as his dad, so would he actually be bringing over as many libertarians as his dad would be?
Yeah,
would he,
but at the same time, man, I was a watered-down version of libertarianism, and a lot of people that I know were once there as well, and you learn more over time. You read more, you gain experience as you grow older, and I think that those people can move in that direction as well, and they've all got to start somewhere.
Right, I definitely agree with you. I mean, I started out, I went to college as a Democrat, and then I took an economics class, and then I was like, democratic economics does not make any sense. And so then I became what I would call probably a classical liberal. And, Ron Paul is 2007, and that's when I got into libertarianism. And so I think, it might be a little watered down, but I think in the long run it's a good thing because it brings people to the libertarian message, whether it's watered down or not. A lot of people that would actually come to that are probably more likely to read into it and actually continue down that rabbit hole and, end up more, radical or even get down to the logical conclusion, I would say, and get down to being a free market anarchist or ANCAP or whatever, a voluntarist. So I think in the long run, it's definitely very beneficial, for the libertarian movement, the freedom movement.
Well,
anybody else have any thoughts?
Well, and I think toward that, I don't know. I think the fact that Rand is not in this latest debate means that if he doesn't do well in either Iowa or New Hampshire, he's pretty much done. He's out of the picture. I mean, he may still be running, but I think the enthusiasm and the wind in the sails is just going to be completely gone. But the thing is, some people are going to say, well, what do we do now? And maybe they find something else. Some of them, of course, will just go to the establishment Republican, support whoever that is. But I think there will be a faction who says, let's see what else is out there, and I think that's a good thing. But again, we'll see. I think the Paul campaign is sort of circling the drain, if you will. But if they say they have got a huge organization in Iowa, and if they do, if they get pulled like first, second, third in Iowa, then that's something to look into. If they finish fifth or sixth or lower, then they may want to pack it in.
Was Iowa a caucus state?
Yes.
Okay. So It's completely different than a popular vote. I guess Michael is a little more familiar with that because Washington's a caucus state, if I remember correctly. So
Washington.
If you have a strategy, you can do better. Is that correct? If you have a strategy to win.
Yeah. So what happened? Go ahead.
Do you think Rand is right to refuse to be in this debate?
No, I don't think he's right at all to refuse to be in the debate. He's going to lose airtime.
Well, I think he has to because he actually said, he made the threat beforehand. He said, if I'm in the undercard debate, I'm not going to participate. And now if he does, people will say, well, how can we trust this guy? Of course, like Ted Cruz is having this old Trust Ted ads, which, given that he didn't show up to audit the Fed, they have to wonder about that. But he boxed himself into a position where I don't think he can participate in the debate at this point.
Yeah, you're right. He can't participate in the debate because he's already committed to not participating in the debate. However, I think it was a bad move to even do that. That's just my opinion, though.
Sure. Well, I think it may end up backfiring on him, yeah.
Well, time will tell, and we'll see how he does. But any thoughts on Ted Cruz?
He's no libertarian.
He likes the Princess Bride, though, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And Dr. Seuss.
And what did you say, Dr. Seuss?
Yeah. I like him better than.
So you like him better than what?
Hillary.
Well, I mean that's a pretty low standard there, though.
I think I even like him better than Bernie.
Any thoughts on Ted Cruz, Mark?
No.
No?
No.
Michael?
Yeah, man, he didn't show up to audit the Fed. Seriously, what's going on? This is
He's
crazy.
not going to the union address tonight either.
Well, is it because his wife's a vice president at Goldman Sachs? I don't know.
I don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows?
I wish I had a vice president at Goldman Sachs.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of liberty-minded folks, I mean, there are some folks that have been split on Paul, some that like Paul, some that don't like Paul, and of course that's a different discussion altogether, but some of them say, well, Ted Cruz is an acceptable alternative. And a lot of people after today are saying, well, maybe I was wrong on that. So I don't know. I mean, you look through some of like Ted Cruz's advisors, like John Bolton, and I don't know about y'all, but that's sort of scary.
John Bolton is one of his advisors. Ooh.
Yes, yes. And and it's like, well, I don't like that at all. So,
although I think
Nice.
Bolton is like honest neoconservatives, because they keep inviting him to speak at FFL. Like they disagree with him, but they think he has good communication.
yeah.
Nice chandelier there, Bruce.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Well, they also invited.
Nice chandelier there, Bruce.
You heard what?
No.
I'm sorry, I keep walking away from my phone right when you say it. Listen, what?
I said nice chandelier, Bruce.
You know, I'm gonna get on. Anything from my phone, I can't hear you.
All right, well let's talk about the LP presidential candidates. I thought, not that I agree with Austin, but he was definitely getting a lot of airtime. I saw him everywhere. Seems to kind of gotten quiet this past week or so. And with Gary Johnson coming out, with him coming to the race, I think Steve Kerbel is really, or is it Kerbel or Kerbel?
It's Kerbel.
Kerbel, sorry. Steve Kerbel, I think he seems like he's gaining some good momentum, become more visible. But obviously, the big thing is Gary Johnson jumping in. But I've definitely noticed that Austin Peterson's really, I don't know, just become quiet, not very visible. What are y'all thoughts?
I think you're right. I think there's a lot of truth to that. The biggest part of it is Gary Johnson getting in the race, but it's not, Mark Allen Feldman a few months ago was getting all kinds of play. That's gone. These guys are not it. They're not the answer. Kerbel is doing great stuff. I love the videos, by the way. The videos are so good.
Do you think any of them
with,
deserve besides Gary?
What?
Do you think any of them are serious besides Gary? Do you think any of them deserve a lot of attention besides Gary?
I think Kerbel would be the one.
Yeah, I would say Kerbel. I think Austin Peterson, I don't really know how serious he is, he tries to put on a serious face, but I think he's just trying to get more attention towards himself, get more hits on his website.
You think he's trying to get a book deal on the Fox show?
Do I?
You think he's trying to get a book deal on the Fox show?
Oh, jeez.
Yes.
Maybe. What about you, Michael Pickens? I know you're very opinionated. Go ahead.
Yeah, so as far as Austin Peterson, yeah, he probably could be trying to jockey for a show on Fox Business. Who knows, right? Exposure is definitely something he's good at. I see his social media presence is awesome. There's no doubt about that. But as far as Gary Johnson coming in the race, Gary Johnson has some serious issues as far as his campaign. So, I supported him big time back in 2012. I helped him get on the ballot in 2 states, campaigned for him. I was his state director for Washington State. We did a lot. But also at the same time, he didn't run his campaign very well. 95% of the money was spent on salaries. He went $1.4 million into debt. There was no advertisements as far as Washington State goes. And that's a problem. Because in Washington State, we need to get 5% at least of the presidential vote to become a major political party for the Libertarian Party of Washington. It's been a goal for the past 3 years that we set. And we've been working hard to get there. And if he's not going to spend any money on advertising at all, not in our state, it's not going to help us. We're not going to get over 1% of the vote if he's not going to do what's right. And now he's maintained, or he's brought back his same campaign team, former Republicans from his first campaign who've been running Our America Initiative and now running, his 2016 campaigns. He's reusing the same marketing videos that he did back then. I don't see a difference in the campaign. Now, we're going to find out here in a couple months when he starts filing his FEC reports for his new campaign to see how the money's being spent. But Steve Kerbel has promised not to hire high-paid political consultants, promised to put his campaign contributions into marketing and into advertising, and we're already seeing that with the videos that he's putting out, the landing pages, the marketing pieces to educate people on what it really means to be a libertarian. I can see long-term benefits for the Libertarian Party coming out of Steve Kerbell's campaign and what he's doing right now. So
well, definitely, I think that money needs to go towards marketing the Libertarian Party brand, libertarianism. We need more eyes on the Libertarian Party. And, hiring staffers is not going to do that. It's not going to get eyes onto your campaign. You need to have, be social media savvy, which I don't agree with Austin Peterson on a lot of things, but he definitely, you got to give him credit where it's due. He's got the social media game down. Steve Kerbell, the videos are coming out, they're looking good. I really hope he continues with that. Who are you rooting for, Andy?
Well, there are two that I like right now, and it's Gary and Steve Kerbell. Gary, I was very much excited for, and very much bothered by the burqa ban comments. Steve Kerbell, he's running a really good campaign. He's got the fundamentals down. He is communicating the message effectively. I love the videos, and the thing about the videos, especially the Dr. John Hospers one, is it just makes you feel good about being a Libertarian Party member, about being a libertarian. It makes you feel like you're a part of something. And to come out in the context of what was just a lot of obnoxious negative campaigning, especially from Austin Peterson, about how bad the party is, how many things we need to change, here's what we need to do, we're just terrible and we need new stuff. To have this stuff coming out from the Kerbell campaign is just a breath of fresh air. He doesn't have the name recognition that Gary does, but we'll see where it goes. He's got a lot of grassroots support. Right now, those are my two guys.
That's what definitely Austin Peterson. He any attention he can get, if it's negative, he thinks any press is good press. He's sort of like the Donald Trump of the LP presidential candidates. I wish we had Remzo here, so we wouldn't all be beating up on Austin Peterson. Anybody for Austin Peterson? Anybody?
The thing I don't. Sorry, I'll go ahead real quick. With Austin Peterson, he was a huge Rand Paul supporter. Like he was, everything on his Facebook page, it was all about Rand Paul, and then all of a sudden he's running for president. That struck me as really odd, that he would go from being Rand Paul's biggest cheerleader to essentially going to be competition for Rand Paul.
I think he saw the writing on the wall. He saw that Rand Paul wasn't going to make it through, and you know what? There was an opportunity in front of him to come in because Gary Johnson hadn't announced yet. He was going to get all the attention, and that's what he's been doing. He's getting a ton of attention, right, good or bad, right? Building his presence. He's over 42,000 followers on Facebook, likes on his page. It's huge. It's getting up there, and he, whether he gets through in May, which I don't believe he will, or not, he's going to come out ahead. It's a win-win for him either way, pretty much.
Absolutely.
Well, do you think he has any strategy for delegates, at the national convention?
Yeah, I think he does. Yeah, he's been organizing. He's been calling all the state chairs. I know that's for sure. State leadership. I hear reports back all the time. So he's definitely doing the right things he needs to do. However, I'm not quite sure he's going to get even close, really, from what I hear. But he is doing the right thing. If anything, he's building relationships. So
he's building relationships and probably burning a lot of bridges too with his negative talk about the Libertarian Party, about the NAP, NAP, and other things. He's a very polarizing candidate, and like I said, I definitely give him. He's good at marketing and the social media presence. He's good at that stuff. Maybe he does want to have a Fox News show. Fireside chat with Austin Peterson, Ninja, Freedom Ninja, or whatever working title. I don't know, but I don't really know. I mean, he's got some good staff, it seems, but I don't know how serious he really is. You know, I watched the Stapleton program. He had a really good segment about Austin Peterson and the non-aggression principle. You know, I definitely suggest y'all watch that if y'all haven't watched that. Anybody else watch that?
Yeah, it's really good. He's right on.
Yeah, and he pretty much shows, or he brings up where Austin Peterson's just trying to get, you know, just essentially attention, whether it's negative or bad, and that he's just, I think he's really trying to just build his brand. I mean, like Michael Pickens said, he has 42,000 followers on Facebook. I think he's just trying to build up his credibility, and who knows if he's trying to segue this into something bigger than the Libertarian Republic, with clickbait titles and ads oozing out of the articles everywhere.
And thank you for not turning Freedom Gulch into that type of website. I can actually read the articles.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I love to make the money, I guess, that he makes from it, but I can't have 50 million just those ads. You know, it's just half the page, if not 3/4 the page, is ads, and it just drives me crazy. And there's pop-up ads that pop up. You're trying to click something, the pop-up ad comes up, and you're like, yeah. So I'm trying to make it look aesthetically good and pleasant to read.
So there was a recent poll. Did you guys see that recent poll on Facebook for the Libertarian Party presidential candidates? It's supposedly North Carolina is going to use for their debate. The top 5 in that poll will get a slot in the debate stage.
Yeah, I definitely saw that. And what's funny is that when I checked a couple of days ago, it was Gary Johnson, Steve Kerbell, and then I forget.
Daryl Perry.
Yeah, Daryl Perry, and then Austin Peterson, then none of the above. Then all of a sudden, it just switched where Austin Peterson's out in the lead by like 15 points or 15 percentage points. So I guess he shared that, and his zombie, horde went in and clicked Austin Peterson. Like I said, he's sort of like the Donald Trump of the LP.
Yeah, well, he was able to get it on social media and build it up. But I just thought it was interesting. So the top 5 there was it was Austin Peterson, Steve Kerbell, then it was Gary Johnson, followed by Daryl Perry, who has pretty good support, I saw, and then followed by Mark Allen Feldman, who seems to have lost a lot of support recently.
Daryl Perry has a lot of support from the from the radical ANCAP side of the party, and he is consistent. He is the most libertarian candidate in the race.
Yeah.
He's made a choice to not accept Federal Reserve notes for his campaign, so he's only taking precious metals and bitcoins, which is limiting.
It is.
But
see, that's the thing, man.
standing up for himself.
I went through his website and I've read it, and I like his stuff. You know, I really do. But there's some certain things that I need in a presidential candidate, and one major thing is the ability to raise money and to turn around and advertise and invest in the states that they're running in. You know, that's a huge thing. And with him not accepting those donations, same with Mark Allen Feldman with the $5 cap, I just don't think that's realistic. That's not going to give us
3 million donations, right?
Yeah, 3 million donors. But no, with Daryl Perry, like if I looked at principles, you know, I identify as a free market anarchist, like ANCAP, whatever. Daryl Perry would be my person, you know, but you know, I'm already compromising by being part of the LP, and you know, being with politics. So when I look at Daryl Perry, I don't see a presidential candidate, and you know, there's a certain professionalism, and that's what I asked in my interviews that I did. You know, I asked 1 or 2 questions, personal questions towards each candidate, and one for Daryl Perry was, you know, what's your opinion on people not seeing you as, you know, presidential? And he said he's never heard that before. And I've talked to several people before that have talked about that, like with the debate up in Massachusetts. This his appearance, you know, he's got like tennis shoes on, and it's just, I like his principles, but you're running for the presidency. You know, you need the image is a lot, public speaking's a lot. like Michael said, donations, fundraising is a lot. It's not just about principles. If it was principles, then I probably would go for Daryl Perry. But there's so much more. You need to present the party in a certain light. And do you have any opinion on that, Michael, or anybody else?
Yeah, I do have an opinion on it, but if anyone else wants to go, feel free. Okay. Yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. And there's issues I have with Steve Kerbell's campaign, right? He's fairly unknown, and that's not going to bode well. He's running for president. Donald Trump has a huge name recognition. Steve Kerbell, who's he? However, I believe with proper advertising that he can get the name recognition he needs to be successful. But what is success, right? Is lightning going to strike and all of a sudden a libertarian is going to get elected president? I don't really think that that's going to happen. The odds are against it. So we at least need to be able to build the party during this cycle. And we got to get over 5% of the vote here in Washington, because I don't want to wait another 5 or 4 years for the next presidential election to get our 5% to become a major party. So we've got to have a presidential candidate that's willing to raise the money, willing to do the campaigning, spend it on marketing and advertisement, so we get new eyes looking at our party. New eyes. That's what we need. So
now, with you got 5% presidential, I know that's 10% for like the governor, or is it Senate as well? Like that's what Sarvis was trying to do in Virginia. Is there anything with presidential? Is it 10% or is it lower? Do you know, Joshua, Randy?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Josh?
Yeah, I mean, it is 10%, just like any statewide contest. Although, I should mention that Delegate Sam Rasool is proposing a bill this General Assembly session which will knock it down to 5. It'll most likely be defeated, but... actually, I'm going to Richmond tomorrow and hope to speak to Delegate Rasool about that.
Oh, when's Lobby Day? Is that tomorrow or the next day?
No, Lobby Day is this coming Monday, but I'm making 2 trips to Richmond coming up, so yeah.
Okay.
I have a meeting. Finally, have a meeting with a state senator that I've been pushing for the last year. So.
Yeah, so you got 5% of up in Washington, Michael. I wish we had that. We got 10%, and Sarvis would have been able to beat that, back when he ran for governor, when he got 6.9% or something like that after the character assassination 2 days before the election.
Yeah,
it's too bad. I don't know, when we ran our campaigns in 2014, 4 of our candidates got over 30% of the vote. Stephen Nielsen won an entire precinct, and that just happened to be the precinct that they put up door hangers on every registered voter's door. And on the door hangers, it explained the philosophy of liberty and the non-aggression principle, sticking to our principles. And it didn't go in depth on any issues whatsoever. We stuck with the core principles, and we did really well in 2014. And a lot of the times you see these political ads, like, nothing against Robert Sarvis. I thought he did a great job. He actually wrote an article for the magazine I put out. But his commercial that he was playing, it was more Robert Sarvis, right? It wasn't really teaching people a whole lot. Same with the commercials that Gary Johnson has. It's just a different marketing strategy that I think we need to use. Libertarians are different people. We don't need to be like Republicans and Democrats in our marketing and advertising. And to get people to come out and vote for us, we have to be different.
Yeah, well, definitely. I think we need to highlight liberty, highlight freedom, and just highlight our differences, or just this, like you said, the general idea of liberty. And I think that would really bode well for us. And I guess Steve Kerbell is really working on that with his libertarian videos. And I guess you probably should disclose that well, I guess you did at the beginning of the podcast that you do work for, or you volunteer for the Kerbell campaign, right?
Yeah, I'm a volunteer for the Kerbell campaign. He doesn't have any paid staff right now. He does have some volunteers, but the reason why I'm a volunteer, I've listed all the reasons, because I believe that he's the one that can help us gain momentum and build through his campaign. The presidential campaign, is just another tool for us to advance our cause. That's in my opinion. That's what it is.
It gets eyes on our movement, on the party, just getting people to actually thinking about liberty and about freedom. Anybody else have any thoughts on that? Are y'all optimistic about the LP candidate and what they can possibly do this year?
I am
optimistic, sure. Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
No, I'm saying I'm very optimistic about I can't speak countrywide, but here in Frederick County, I've been looking at the percentages that LP candidates have got going back to the 90s, and probably in the last 3 or 4 elections in Frederick County, we've been trending up. So like for president this year, we're hoping we do better than we did in 2012, just like Redpath did better in Frederick County than he did in Frederick County than in 2011 or 2013, 2012 or 2013. So yeah, we're hoping to do better locally in Frederick County because we are trying to build that party here, just like all of us are. I know Andy's a LP Nova chair, and everybody's trying to build their party, and I think that's a good way to approach it, is to get the local people really pushing to get things going.
I definitely agree. We need to run more local campaigns against, especially getting two-way races, sort of like I've been like this past year, because it gets more eyes on our party, more eyes on the principles of libertarianism. And being a libertarian candidate, I imagine y'all had this. Half of it's educating, or even more of it's educating people what a libertarian is, and people have a lot of preconceived notions of what libertarian is, and they're actually not right. And a lot of people were surprised that I was against the pipeline, but I had to explain that I'm for property rights. Property rights trumps, for gas. I'm not against gas, but I'm for property rights before that. I guess because mostly liberals, I guess, had an idea of me being just a capitalist, whatever their definition of capitalist is. So a lot of our effort has to go towards, we'll get on the ballot, number one, but then also just educating people. And a lot of people didn't know what libertarian is, the last few years that I've run. But seeing the 2 years in a row, I saw a lot of people that actually I saw in the first year come up to me and they actually started reading about Libertarian Party and about libertarianism. And so it's going to be a slow game, I think, but I definitely think that local campaigns, but we also need the presidential campaigns because that's such a visible race, but we definitely need to build from the bottom up as well. Any comments, Andy, on your races, on building the party?
Yeah, I think that's the goal. Michael referenced it, that we've got to define our goals. I like the way that the Kerbel campaign has been coming out and saying, well, so we're going to win, but here's what we're working on also. I think that's the strategy to take for libertarian campaigns, and it's a good time to run locals too in a presidential election year because people are paying attention. I know this past year, Carl, Will, Mark, and I all ran here in Virginia, and that's what we call an off year. There's only state legislative races, no top-of-ticket statewide races or federal elections. So people aren't paying attention, and that makes it a lot harder to grow the party too. We're not going to have that problem this year. We could see it picking up right now. And actually, I had a question for you guys who have been around a little bit longer. How does the activity around the nomination contest in the LP compare to 2012? Lee Wrights and Gary Johnson, and I guess that was late, but.
I remember that pretty vividly. It was pretty much the radicals for Lee Wrights, and then the moderates, pragmatists, whatever you want to call them, for Gary Johnson. I think Gary Johnson took that convention election by 70%. When he switched over, he got a lot of play. There's a lot of people who are excited about him coming over. I know a lot of people got active on the ground. His campaign was big in Washington, at least, to motivate and inspire people to take action.
So, do you think that this convention is going to be pretty highly contested with so many, I guess, hats in the race, or do you think it's going to?
This convention's going to be nuts, man. 2012 was great. It was in Vegas, had a blast, but 2016 with these strong campaigns coming in with McAfee, who knows what he's going to do? Right?
I didn't even mention
then you
him.
got Austin Peterson, dude. He's going to stack to get the deck. He's going to get a bunch of young Americans for Liberty to show up on his behalf, right? That'll be fun. Steve Kerbell's doing great. He's got a lot of support that's building, and then Gary Johnson's got a ton of support that he already has. It's still, just transitioning over. So it's going to be a very interesting convention. I see. And then with Daryl Perry too, there's going to be five different groups in the convention. Who knows? It's going to be interesting though.
Yeah, I can't wait to go down to Orlando. I think it'll be it's going to be my first presidential convention. I went last time in Columbus, but I'm looking forward to the actual presidential nomination process. So, all right, well, any final comments on that or anything else?
Yeah, did you go to the party that I threw at the last convention?
The bottle service at the club?
The club? Yeah.
Yeah. There better be another one, Michael.
Yeah, we got to figure that out. I planned that the day before.
Yeah, you told me you met the guy that owned the club or whatever, and you found out that he was libertarian, and then next thing you know, we're there.
Yeah, we got to do something else like that. It'll be fun.
Definitely, I'm looking forward to it. Anybody else going to the convention?
I'll be there, ready to party with John McAfee.
we got to invite McAfee to the party.
Yeah, there you go.
Carl, are you going to be there?
No. I probably won't be able to make it.
Okay. Josh, are you going to make it? Mark?
I doubt it. We'll see.
Mark?
I'm hoping to. We're planning vacation to go to Orlando that weekend, so we'll see if it comes together or not.
You better, man. We need to have a. What are you doing in there, Carl?
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I'm gonna meet you.
Yeah, please.
So we have a live podcast at the convention. Is that what you want to do?
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I've already talked to Carla. And she said that it'll be no issue with getting me a press pass. I'm gonna hopefully see if I can get other people press passes as well. See how many press passes I can get. Maybe I can get like 6 of them or something. I don't know. And have a live podcast there, and definitely looking forward to covering the convention floor, and then also the different speakers and such, doing interviews. Definitely looking forward to that. I'm going to be in Freedom Fest. I got a press pass for that. I'm looking forward to Las Vegas again, and I've been going there the last couple of years. Hope to see you there, Michael. You going to be there?
Oh, yeah. You bet, man. This will be number 3.
Yeah, I can't wait. I haven't been. This is my first time.
Yeah, my favorite part about these conventions is you get to meet all the libertarians from around the country that you talk to on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
So, and then I get to talk shit to Austin Peterson in person. Come on, man. That's gonna make my entire convention.
That's gonna be great. We got to get some video. We got to do an interview, maybe troll him a little bit, something. So too bad Rimzo's not here to pick up for him. His
I talk a lot of crap about Austin. talk a lot of crap about Austin, but I honestly believe that all these guys running for office right now for the Libertarian nomination, they're all building the party. Austin's bringing in a new demographic that would normally be paying attention, and I can see the benefits from every single one of these guys. Plus, they're putting their name out there. You know, they're taking their time and their energy. Running for office is not an easy thing. So as much shit as we give some of these guys, there is a lot of value to it. I wish he would just lay off the nap. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? But
he's trying to make controversy. Yeah, he's trying to make controversy within the party, and it worked for a while until Gary Johnson stepped into the ring, and then it's where's AP? Where's Austin Peterson? You know?
Yeah. Well, Steve Kerbell took advantage of that. When Austin was going against the NAP, Steve took advantage of it and brought a lot of supporters over. You know, that when Austin started going up against the non-aggression principle, that's when I started paying attention. It's like, oh, really? So I actually started getting active again. So if it wasn't for Austin doing that,
that's true. Knows? You know, definitely disagree with him, but at the same time, you know, he might have lit a fire underneath the party, you know, of the people who are in the party, and got people, you know, getting active and actually, you know, other campaigns to start really campaigning, putting out material. So even though we do give them a lot of, you know, we give them a lot of stuff, you know, I definitely appreciate Austin Peterson, and we definitely can learn a lot from him with his social media, and you know, respect him for running. I definitely don't agree with him on a lot of things, but I definitely respect him.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I think that's gonna do it. Unless y'all have any other topics we can talk about. Anybody?
Go Broncos.
Well, before we leave, I'm wearing my David Bowie shirt. David Bowie passed away yesterday. He's actually probably one of the reasons why I became a libertarian, because of being a nonconformist and allowing yourself to do what you want, not worry about what other people think. So I just wanted to throw that out there, since he did pass away yesterday, right, the night before. But let's go ahead and close this off, and we'll be doing this again in another 2 weeks, and look forward to seeing y'all, and some more contributions on Freedom Gulch, and hope to see some of y'all down at the convention as well. So, and that's it.
Thanks, Will.
Awesome.